Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Keep It on the DL. I am Lewis. Alongside me, as always, is Devin. And after a week and a half or so off, we are back. We got some news to talk about. And biggest news of the last couple weeks, Dak Prescott's new contract worth $160 million over the next 4 years, 126 of that guaranteed, and $75 million of that coming in 2021. So Dak gets his money, gets paid big time by the Cowboys. So Dev, what do you think of this deal? Do you think there's a winner in all this? Do you think there's a loser in all this? What is your gut reaction from this deal?
It's an interesting one. I have a few thoughts or points I do want to say about this deal. I think really the ultimate winner of this deal is Jerry Jones, because it's been no secret that Jerry Jones has been wanting to lock up Dak for a very long time. He's made it known that Dak is his guy, even after that gruesome injury against your boys. I believe it was in October. He said he's our guy. We're going to bring him back, and you've always been hearing about when are the Cowboys going to really make Dak their guy as far as the contract goes. I think he was tagged twice, Lou, right? He was definitely tagged once. He might have been tagged twice, but the winners here are Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak is going to get what? He's going to get about $100 million in 2 years, But I think the way that this deal is structured benefits both players. Well, I guess you can say both players here. It benefits the Cowboys and Dak in that if Dak doesn't have a good year, it's going to be a team-friendly deal where he could still get moved, and the team's going to be able to pick him up at about roughly $30 million a year. If it works out, the Cowboys have him at a decent price, and a guy still in his prime for those next 2 or 3 years of the deal. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and Jerry Jones definitely gets his guy.
Jones gets his guy, and he's paying big time for him next season. That's how I'm looking at this. The Cowboys can't really be that active this free agency. I don't see how they can really sign anybody. They're paying Dak $75 million. So the Cowboys are not going to be active in this free agency. But then over the next 3 years, after this year, over the next 3 years, he's only getting $28 million. So if he comes back on his ankle injury and he's horrible, they have a friendlier contract where they can look to trade him, or they have a steal of Dak Prescott for just $28 million, and they can then be more active in free agency in the next 2-3 years after that. So it's a great deal for both. The Cowboys, aside from next year, because they screw themselves for 2021. But aside from that, they have the ability to make their team better with Dak on the contract for 3 years, and Dak gets his $160 million, which I think is what his goal was and what he wanted to do. But no, ultimately, I don't think there's a huge winner in all of this. The Cowboys are giving him $126 million guaranteed, and Dak is. I think he has no trade clause in there, but if he doesn't play well next year, I really think the Cowboys might look to move him. But then he becomes on like a very team friendly type deal. One of the better quarterbacks in the league, making $28 million over those next 3 years. So it's a good deal, both sides, like you said. So that's your breaking news for the NFL, and sticking with the NFL, a little before Dak's deal, there was breaking news by himself on Instagram, J.J. Watt, announcing he's going to the Arizona Cardinals, going to go down there with Kyler Murray and D-Hop, reuniting with Hopkins, of course, from the Texans. And if he stays healthy for these Cardinals, they're going to be a force. They improved last year. I would say that they met expectations. I wouldn't say they went above and beyond expectations, but they definitely met expectations. I think their run game fell behind expectations. I think Kenyon Drake was supposed to be one of the better running backs in the league. Something like a top 10, inside the top 10 running backs, and he just wasn't there. So they have some areas they need to improve. They're not tagging Hassan Reddick, their outside linebacker that had 12 and a half sacks last year. He'll become a free agent. But they go out, they get J.J. Watt for that defense. Isaiah Simmons will be in his second year, the rookie from Clemson. And they'll be ready to go. The Rams just traded away Goff. They have Stafford now. We'll see how that works and how they shape up with the rest of the NFC West. If Russell Wilson's still going to be in the Seahawks, or they're going to tear everything down, who knows? But Watt to the Cardinals, and hopefully he can bolster them into the playoffs, because Arizona definitely has a young, great quarterback in Kyler Murray who can get them there, and we'll see how far along this defense comes with Watt, and if they can hold teams to under 20, 24 points a game. I think that's all the Cardinals really need with that offense. But what do you think, Dev? You got Watt and the Cardinals. Didn't go join the Steelers with his brother or the Bills. We saw some signs for him signing with the Bills, but he does end up in Arizona.
Yeah, and that's really what I was going to talk about, Lou, is the fact that I was very shocked at him posting him doing squats in the Cardinals t-shirt and him saying "source me," which, by the way, was a kind of a cool way to announce where he was going. I was never a huge J.J. Watt fan from a personality standpoint. I thought he was always a huge cornball. But he's really grown on me. He seems like a really cool guy, down-to-earth guy. But as far as the actual move goes, going out to Arizona, it's kind of random to me. The Cardinals had the pieces. They got Kyler. They got D-Hop. Kenyon Drake, if you want to count him too. Like you said, he was very disappointing last year. They have a few pieces. They have the quarterback, but they're not a contender in the NFC. They're still going to have to get through the Rams. They're still going to have to, obviously, get through the Bucs. There's a few other teams I would definitely put above the Cardinals, and they're in a very tough division. The 49ers are going to be better. The Seahawks, of course, if Russell Wilson stays there, they're going to be a force in that division. So it's not like the Cardinals are a runaway in the NFC to even make the playoffs. That's why I was a little bit confused about him going out to Arizona. And I was disappointed that he didn't go to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just made way too much sense on paper. Could have played with both of his brothers. Been an absolute force on that defense. I mean, Steelers had the number 3 ranked defense in the NFL last year. And, I mean, anytime you have Big Ben under center, you're going to be a Super Bowl caliber team and a contender, regardless of how Ben is going to play. He didn't have a good year last year. He was had a very down year according to his standards, but he always seems to find a way to get the job done. But, I mean, they're going to be an improved defense, the Cardinals. I'm looking at it right now. They were just above an above-average defense. They were 12th overall in the league. The Giants, surprisingly, were top 10. They were number 9. I don't know if you knew that, but yeah, I mean, good for J.J. Watt. Hopefully, I wish him all the best. I hope that he finds a lot of playoff success, because I think the closest, did he make an AFC championship game?
He never made an AFC championship game, no. The Texans, I don't think the Texans have ever been to an AFC championship game.
I think they've definitely been to a divisional.
Yes.
Against the Patriots, so it's the furthest he's gone. We'll see. But the Cardinals, like you said, they met expectations at 8-8 this year. It's exactly maybe 8-8, 9-7. I think in our preview, that's what we said that they were going to be. And D-Hop and Kyler Murray are only going to get better. Yep.
So that's it. You got J.J. Watt and the Cardinals there. Maybe not the best Super Bowl contending team you could have gone to. Like you said, the Steelers would have been a great fit there, especially with Bud Dupree leaving. You would have Watts on both sides of the line, just a force on that if he decided to go to the Steelers. And, of course, the Bills' defense is great, and they could have used him as well. But he ends up with the Cardinals. Now let's take it to New York. The Jets and the Giants both use their franchise tags. I'll go first here. The Giants use their tag on Leonard Williams, who, of course, they acquired from the Jets 2 years ago for a third-round pick, and franchise tagged him last year. They put the tag on him this year, and solely because they have to make a long-term deal out of this, and they don't want him to hit free agency. But in order to complete this tag, the Giants have to cut $9 million, I think, by the end of the week or something like that. So someone will be cut from this roster. Whether it's really looking like it's Zeitler, their guard, and it sucks that they really can't afford to lose many people on the offensive line, but signs point to him being cut because there really aren't a ton of other options. I mean, Solder will be cut, but he's going to be cut after June 1st to save even more money. So I think Zeitler is who they might be looking to cut right now, unless they cut a bunch of smaller contracts somewhere else. So Kevin Zeitler might be cut by the end of the week. But yes, this tag on Leonard Williams is to, I believe, get him a long-term deal, something around 4 or 5 years in the $20 million range. So that is what you're looking at, Giants fans. You're probably gonna sign, if there's no long-term deal here for Williams, it's going to be disappointing. But I think going back to 3 years ago, overall, I mean, this is a solid trade. Leonard Williams was an absolute dominant guy last year who could line up at tackle, who can line up at on the edge, and sometimes he doesn't get to the quarterback every time, but he will make the quarterback leave the pocket. He'll make the quarterback uncomfortable. He'll get those cute quarterback hurries and pressures and everything, and also bottle up the run game. He can do it all in pass and run, and we'll see what the Giants do with Dalvin Tomlinson. That was another potential franchise tag candidate. We'll see if they try to bring him back as well. But Leonard Williams was a must for this Giants defense, a huge part of it last year. And I'm glad that they're going to work something out. And like I said, I really hope he doesn't play on the tag this year. I really hope that they sign him long term because, a lot of fans didn't really like the trade, giving away the third-round pick for a guy that was just going to finish the season there. But then they tag him, and if we can get him long-term, I definitely think that it will work out. And yeah, go ahead. And then you can give your Leonard Williams take and then go right into the Jets free agency tag.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to do, Lo. I was going to talk about Leonard Williams just for a hot second. It's kind of amazing the emergence of Leonard Williams in a Giant uniform. He wasn't, from a Jet standpoint, he was not a bad Jet. And even when he was on the hot seat and they were looking to move him, I had a love-hate relationship for him because he was so hyped coming out of college. He was so good at USC, and he had flashes of brilliance. He was always getting to the quarterback, always getting pressure. Wasn't able to get the sacks, wasn't able to force the ball out, recover those fumbles. And that was his demise as a New York Jet. And I guess you can kind of call it a change of scenery going over to the Giants. I guess he was just a late bloomer. Nothing more than that. He's still only 26. He's still so young. Still has a ton of his career left over. The Giants had no option but to place the franchise tag on him, and rightfully so. I mean, he's an anchor for that that Giant D-line, and I've been really happy to see him really flourish in a Giant uniform and really embrace being a Giant, which has been really cool to see. And the Giants are clearly no strangers to taking some Jet sloppy seconds when it comes to their D-line. You think of Damon Harrison, you think of Snacks, of course, who did very well as a Giant, and then you have Leonard Williams as well. So
maybe Quinn Williams is next.
Yeah, let's not. I mean, that's a guy who needs to. I mean, especially after last year, he needs to be a Jet for a very, very long time, and that'll kind of segue, I guess, into my Marcus May point. Was in that I believe it was the 2016 draft, 2017, excuse me, where they drafted obviously Jamal in the first round, and drafted Marcus May out of Florida, with the 37th pick, I believe, in that second round. both of those guys produce as Jets. At the full safety and strong safety position, they were set for the future. And, of course, everyone knows what happened with Jamal Adams. And Marcus May has been a captain on that defense. He's been a leader in that locker room. He's been a very solid guy, leads by example, doesn't have an attitude, and he's an absolute ball hawk, too. He is a lockdown force at the safety position. Obviously, safety is not a premium position in the NFL. You're going to pay premium prices for those corners, for those edge rushers, not necessarily for those safeties, But besides Quinn Williams, the Jets had no choice but to tag Marcus May. I mean, what I was trying to say was, besides Quinn Williams, Marcus May is the second best player on the defensive side of the ball, and he's a top 3 best player on the Jet roster. He might be the second best player on the Jet roster behind Quinn Williams, and number 3 being Denzel Mims. I mean, nobody else stands out on that roster at all. It's an absolute abomination. So I hope that they can work out.
I would put Mekhi Becton, maybe number 2.
All right, Becton as well. I forget because that offense is just so bad. Becton's definitely up there too. I don't know. I mean, Becton and May could be tied at 2. Definitely could be tied at 2. I hope the Jets figure out a way to sign Marcus May to a long-term deal and not pay up the ass either. And Joe Douglas is not going to break the bank for him, but the Jets definitely made the right move here by tagging May. There wasn't any choice either. And last week, real quickly, my last point on May, I don't know if you saw, but Marcus May, his agent, got very vocal on Twitter. He replied to, I think it was Rich Cimini, right after Douglas and Salah's press conference last week. It was basically saying, like, listen, there's been no contact. They're not showing any respect to my client, and hopefully this will get the ball rolling with the tag.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main points is to sign guys to a long-term deal after you tag them. I really think that's a huge part of using the franchise tag is to give you that time to work out a long-term deal without other teams interfering. So
absolutely,
those are your 2 tags. And other tags around the league, you got Allen Robinson being tagged by the Bears, Chris Godwin being tagged by the Bucks. Also, the Bucks signing Levante David to a 2-year, $25 million contract extension to keep that Bucks defense intact for 2 more years. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Shaq Barrett. Not tagging Barrett. Barrett's set to hit free agency on the 17th. We'll see if he ends up back with the Bucks, but if not, I mean, that is a prime pass rusher that can go to a team and make a huge difference. And obviously, the Giants need some edge rushers to help out that zone defense, because zone defense works when you can get to the quarterback with 4 guys. Otherwise, if you have time, if the quarterback has a ton of time, you're going to see games like the Ravens game where the Lamar Jackson just scrambles and picks the zone apart. So some big, still some names out there. I know Robinson being tagged, not great for the Jets or the Giants, who are looking for a wide receiver. Who knows if they're going to do a sign and trade, but I think Robinson might stay with the Bears here. It seems like the Bears really want him. And a couple other things of some cuts, too. Kyle Van Noy expected to be cut from the Dolphins, linebacker who led the team in tackles. And Malcolm Butler of the Titans, cornerback, going to be, obviously, Super Bowl 2016 hero, I believe 2016. Going to be released by the Titans. And, the Giants have the CB2 spot open. I mean, these 3 guys in Barrett, Van Noy, and Butler are definitely candidates for the Giants. Giants just have some money to rework and people to cut and see what positions they draft and where they can get good. But I think, they're going to sign one of these guys hot at a free agency. That's why you saw them cut Golden Tate early. That's why they're going to cut another guy now and try to work out a deal with Williams by free agency, I think, by the 17th, so they can see how much money they have to work with going forward. So, a lot of these players now, we'll see if the Giants jump after them or they play the waiting game after the draft and see what holes are left and try to fix them after that. But obviously Van Noy and Butler both know Joe Judge from New England, so they have that going for them as well. So any comments on those other tags, Dev?
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting with these tags and see what these deals look like. Personally, I don't think Allen Robinson is going to stay in Chicago. I think it's going to be a sign and trade type of thing. He's made it pretty clear that he doesn't want to come back. He does not like the organization. He doesn't like how he's been treated, the lack of communication on all fronts. And I was pretty surprised that they even tagged him to begin with.
Especially like you said, with all that, never having a quarterback as well.
Yeah, exactly. Him not having a quarterback, but the Bears are going to be one of, if not the most aggressive team trying to get a quarterback this offseason. Going to be interesting to see. I think it's just too perfect of a match for the Jets to send Sam out to Chicago and get something in return, whether it is Allen Robinson. Obviously, the Jets would give up something else in addition to Darnold. I don't know. I think that just makes too much sense for both teams involved. So we'll see what happens there, like I said, with the tags. But we did have two moves in the AFC regarding some linemen. The Pats are bringing back Trent Brown. They traded for him from the Raiders in exchange for a 2022 fifth-round pick. And they're getting a 2022 seventh-round pick in addition to Trent Brown, who did play for the Pats back in 2018. So the Pats solidifying that front line for whoever the hell is going to be playing QB for them next year. And a little bit of a weird trade going down between the Dolphins and the Titans here, Lou, like we were talking off the air. The Titans, they're sending Isaiah Wilson down to South Beach and a seventh-round pick in 2022 to the Dolphins for a seventh-round pick this year. But the interesting part in this is that Isaiah Wilson was the 29th pick in the draft last year. He's a first-round talent, so I don't really know what's going on here. It's not like it's a cap dump or anything because he's on his rookie deal. But, the Dolphins are getting a first-round pick by the Titans last year and a seventh-round selection this year just in exchange for a seventh-round pick next year. So this would legitimately cost the Dolphins absolutely nothing. It's more than taking a flyer.
Isaiah Wilson was pretty vocal at the end of the season about how he hated that he didn't play. He disgruntled. He did not want to be in Tennessee anymore. And Tennessee really had no choice but to get rid of him because obviously they didn't play him last year, and they have no really plans for him in their future. If he's the first-round talent, didn't get a lick of time, and then is speaking out against the franchise, saying I'm done as a Titan. So they definitely had to move him. But for the return, wow, you're talking about a first-round talent, and just getting. You got nothing in return. You literally got nothing in return. You got a seventh-round pick that you're then giving up the next year. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, this deal. The Dolphins, it's a no-brainer. You're going to get that line as good as you can to protect Tua, bring in more guys. More guys, more competition, the better people perform. So we'll see if Isaiah Wilson can, get to that first-round talent form as a offensive lineman in this league. But it's a real no-brainer for the Dolphins, head-scratcher for Tennessee. And you might see Tennessee start to tear things down in a weird way. You see it with Malcolm Butler being released. You see it with this trade is very weird. Their defense was horrible last year. They could not keep teams under 28 points a game. They just couldn't do it. They were in shootouts all the time. Derrick Henry in the run game is the only thing they really have going for them, and Ryan Tannehill not turning the football over being a viable quarterback, a great option at quarterback. But man, that defense has done a complete 360 from their run against the Ravens 2 years ago when they beat the Ravens in Lamar Jackson's MVP year. But man, I think you might see the Titans try to strip down this defense, and I could even go as far as to say that maybe A.J. Brown is a trade target for someone at the deadline if the Titans keep going in this direction and aren't winning football games early in the year. So Tennessee is, to me, on the hot seat. Mike Vrabel, to me, on the hot seat here. They need to figure out if they are contenders or they're going to strip it down and try to get younger and try to rebuild the defense.
I don't know, Lou. I think it's a little premature to say that the Dolphins. I mean, that the Titans are going to be tearing things down.
But on the defensive side of the ball,
like this, I mean. Oh, on the defensive side of the ball, like you said, I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed last year. Every single time I saw the Titans playing somebody, I was taking that over. They were a brutal defense, like you said, in shootouts every single year. But Vrabel, I don't think, is on the hot seat. If anything, I think he is definitely in the top half of best coaches in the NFL. I love what he's done down in Tennessee. And this is a team that's a season removed from an AFC Championship game. And they have the pieces on offense. They have A.J. Brown. They have Tannehill, who's played great the past 2 years. And, of course, you got a guy who you just run the hell out of the ball with in Derrick Henry, who just, by the way, just ran for 2,000 yards. So the one thing they got to fix is on the defensive side of the ball. And I couldn't really name one guy on the defensive side of the ball for the Titans, to be honest with you. I really could not do it. And that's going to be an area of focus this year. And Vrabel is no stranger to defense. That's what he played his whole entire career with the Pats and the Chiefs, too. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes down in Tennessee, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, for sure.
Yeah, Tennessee's defense obviously was not great, and part of that reason was Jadeveon Clowney not doing anything for them last year. He was off the field, he was hurt. He brought nothing to the defense really even when he was on the field. He did not bring a lot to them, so he really hurt them. But, I mean, I disagree. I think Vrabel is still on the hot seat here. This is a team that had AFC Championship aspirations, a top 10 defense in the league, and just completely stunk. I mean, you look at maybe the Giants are more talented than Tennessee at this point with their defense, but you weren't expecting the Giants to be a top 10 defense in the league, and Patrick Graham went out there and proved it and did absolutely fantastic with the Giants on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, coaching to me does go into it a little bit. These guys are still NFL players. They still can do their job on the field and so on. But I think you see another defensive performance like they did last season. Vrabel is definitely going to be on the hot seat here. But that will wrap it up for our NFL talk here. A lot of things to get into still. We're going to have free agency set on the 17th, and then I believe the draft is on April 4th. Oh, no, that's late. Easter. Easter's April 4th.
No
I
way.
think it's the 7th? It's that first week of April, I believe.
No. I think it's the 29th or something. Just looked it up the other day. Yeah. Yep, 29th to May 1st.
All right.
So we got a lot.
We got over a month till the draft, but we definitely have free agency in, I believe, a week from when I post this. So we got a week till free agency, and that'll get the ball rolling. We'll have a lot of things to talk about with that, but that'll do it for our NFL talk this week. And let's get into some NBA, NHL talk very quickly. Obviously, NBA is in an all-star break right now. They are resuming play on Wednesday. And the Knicks are over 500 at the all-star break for the first time since 2013, I believe. Just I mean, they're one game over 500. You can't sit here and say they're amazing. It's awesome. They're fantastic, and be up in arms and just so happy about it. I'm encouraged. I'm happy for the first time in 6-7 years about the Knicks at this point in the season. But you have to be happy with the way they're playing. But obviously, you're going to want to hit a new stride here and hit 5 games over 500, then try to get to 10. But obviously, the season's shorter this year. They only have, I believe, less than 20 games to go in the season. It's a 60-game season. Yeah. They've played 35 games. So they have under 30 games to go. So they have 25 games left. If they can go, 15-10, you got to be happy with that. You got to be thrilled with that if they can go 15-10 over their next 25 games. So the Knicks are in some great shape. Obviously, Randall was an all-star. I feel like that was the Knicks' first all-star since Melo was on the team. But just
it really does feel that way, though.
Yeah, I can't remember an all-star that wasn't Melo on the team. Did Jeremy Lin sneak in? I feel like that was like the second half of the season was Linsanity. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be encouraged about the Knicks right now. They should make the playoffs. They definitely should make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to hang on to the 4 or 5 seed, but I do think that I don't see them going lower than 7. I really don't. I think Julius Randle is one of the greatest team ball players in the NBA right now. He has limited his turnovers greatly. He draws a double team. He's able to kick it. He's able to, find the open man. And when they don't double team him, he can get in the paint, do a little jump stop, and fade away. Or he can get to the baseline and hit his jumper. Those are his 2 spots, and he continues to be consistent like that. I mean, it'll be just fantastic. You got R.J. Barrett after his first 10 games. I think since then he's shooting over 45% from 3. He's been so much better. And Emmanuel Quickley is a star, going to be a star in this league. Obviously, a second-round pick of the Knicks, just more than they could ever ask for. They're having a season from him, being able to hit the 3. His defense could definitely improve, but he's definitely a spark off the bench in there. And, I mean, Nerlens Noel playing well for Mitchell Robinson right now, but I think they could still go out and maybe trade for an Andre Drummond and get a 20-20 guy down low, someone who's going to get those offensive boards, put him back in, finish at the rim, also able to pick and pop for a 3. Obviously, Knicks don't have that type of center that can do a pick and pop. Gibson can't shoot, or Nerlens Noel can't shoot, and Mitchell Robinson obviously can't shoot. So if they can add a guy like Drummond late in the season like this, I'd be fantastic. And adding a guy like Oladipo or Bradley Beal, it would be exciting, but I think it makes your team worse defensively. But as much as a Bullock can give you a headache on the Knicks offensively, he can get hot from 3 and he plays great defense. And I don't think you're going to get a ton of that from Oladipo or Bradley Beal on the defensive end. Plus, you're going to need them to get up shots, which takes the ball out of Julius Randle's hand, who's been your facilitator the first half of the offense, the season on the offense. So, I mean, the Knicks are in great shape. I really like what they're doing. But if they do make a move here, I would really like it to be for Andre Drummond. I really would. I think it would be huge to get a pick and pop guy that can hit the 3, that can go for 20-20 a night. It'd be huge. It'd be absolutely huge. And obviously you keep Nerlens Noel, for defensive purposes and things like that. He's been blocking shots left and right since Mitch went down. But yeah, I think if the guy to target for the Knicks is an Andre Drummond type, just to keep running the offense through Julius Randle and having Drummond there to clean it up. And, if you're running a pick and roll with Quickley or pick and roll with RJ, he's able to stand behind the 3-point line and knock some down. But I like what we're seeing from the Knicks. It's exciting second half. This is the first time it's getting exciting for Knicks fans. So it's good to be a New York Knicks fan right now.
Yeah, a lot of positives if you're a Knicks fan. I mean, this is. I think this is the first time in a very, 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 very long time that the Knicks have a path and have a core that they're going to build around. You know, you have Obi. You can't forget about him. You have RJ. And, of course, you got, why am I forgetting his name? And you got Julius Randle, too. I mean, you got three guys that are really playing very well. Obi Toppin is playing very well as a rookie. RJ doesn't have a monkey on his back anymore because he doesn't have to carry the team, you know? So, I mean, the Knicks have been waiting for this, and I'm obviously not the biggest NBA guy out there, but it's going to be good for New York, and it's going to be great for Knicks fans. This is very well-deserved, and they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to be a fun team to watch. And for everyone that was giving Thibodeau shit.
Been great. He's been absolutely fantastic. Getting this team to play defense and, you know, being the top 3 defensive team in the league right now. Couldn't ask for anything more than that. So that's for your Knicks report there. The other side in Brooklyn, they just signed Blake Griffin to a deal. You know, when they want to play small, I guess he'll play the center role for them. DeAndre Jordan's on the bench. So the Nets acquire Griffin, and, you know, obviously they're star-studded with Irving, Kyrie, Harden. Now you got Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. These guys are studs here, and it's New York is there for them to lose. So this is their season to lose. If they don't win this year, it's going to look bad. I mean, they're the huge front runners. When you have Kyrie, Harden, and Durant, I mean, you better win. You better win. A lot of pressure on the Nets right now, especially giving up their assets and future. So they need to win. The Nets definitely need to win and get the 1 seed and basically just roll through everybody for them to meet expectations here. But, yep, Blake Griffin to the Nets. And obviously the All-Star Weekend just happened, and Obi, our guy, lost the dunk contest to a guy that didn't even kiss the rim. Didn't even kiss it. I was a little upset. I had a little wager in on Obi to win it. I thought it was going to happen, but didn't. Sad. Nick Bias. Calling Nick Bias on that one. So he did not take home the slam dunk contest, but Steph Curry, no surprise, just shoots threes like it's no one's business. Just easy. Makes it look so easy. Even the All-Star game made it look easy. It's awesome. He's awesome. He
is
really
anyone
is.
Surprised
I mean, some
anymore?
people have hate for the guy and whatever. He's freaking awesome. He's so good for the game. I mean, no one's going to be him. You can try to be him as much as you want. You're not him. You're not Curry. You're just not. You can't. The shots he makes, the releases he has, there's nothing like it. He's awesome to watch. He's fun to watch. He's completely changed the game, and it was nice to see actually LeBron show him love at the game, and then on Twitter, you know, realizing that I think Steph has had a greater impact on basketball than LeBron has over these last 7 or 8 years. I mean,
wow.
There's people have seen players like LeBron. You know, I mean, obviously LeBron is dominant because he's a massive human being on the court and can take it to the rack every time. But when you have a guy like Curry that can pull and pop, it's exciting, it's fun. It's just completely expanding the game, changing the game, drawing a double team from the logo. I mean, you know what that does for an offense? They're playing 4-on-3 from the 3-point line after that. He's just a remarkable player, and obviously winning his second 3-point contest there. And Giannis going 16 for 16 in the All-Star game, hitting 2 bank threes, which was kind of cool for him. He's such a likable guy too, Giannis, so he's winning the All-Star game MVP. So that's your NBA talk. Now let's transfer over to NHL quick. We'll talk Rangers fastly here. once Panarin left and had his whole thing with Putin and Russia and all that, Panarin taking the lead of Avs fans, that was rough to hear for Ranger fans. You just thought that, like, damn, like, now our offense really isn't going to get going. Zibanejad hasn't gotten going. Kreider really hasn't gotten going this year. How are we going to, do without Panarin? And they spun off a few victories in a row and went, I think, something like 5-2 in their last 7 games without Panarin. But now, after, Shesterkin was playing great hockey, great goaltending after a slow start. Now he's out with a groin injury. They signed Keith Kincaid, and they have Grigoriev to be their goalies. Kincaid let up one bad one tonight in the 5-hole, just a backhand that got under the pad. Didn't look like anything special of a shot, but now they're going with Kincaid and Grigoriev, and they're going to need to keep teams from scoring, because when the Rangers are winning games, they're winning these 3-2, 3-1 kind of games, and they're going to need defense and goaltending to compete here. And Kreider has gotten going since Panarin left. He's pulled 2 hat tricks since Panarin went down. Zibanejad looks like he's finding his footing now. But having Shesterkin out is a huge loss for the Rangers here, and it's gonna hurt them. It definitely is. But they're not as hurt as the other team across the river, as the Devils. They look horrible. They've had Pavel Zacha come to life for a little bit there, and then, they're playing Wedgwood, and no one really knows what's up with Blackwood. I don't know if he's hurt or something like that, but he hasn't been getting a ton of playing time. But the Devils look very poor.
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. There's not much
to get into, and I won't get it. I won't do it. But obviously, the whole Panarin situation is just weird. You haven't heard anything from him. I don't think any of this is true. They just came out and said that there wasn't even a police report filed. It's just typical slander from Putin and the Russian government trying to get underneath Panarin's skin. And thankfully for the Rangers, it hasn't hurt them. They've probably been playing their best hockey up to date. They slapped the Devils around, obviously, last Thursday and Saturday. Put up 6 goals in both games. So, that's really what the Devils have been doing now. They've been giving up a ton of shots, ton of goals. Blackwood is not the same Mackenzie Blackwood post-COVID. And, of course, I'm not making any excuses. The Devils did not have playoff aspirations at all, but this team was off to a 6-3-2 start. They were firing on all cylinders, getting so much help from the back end. The defense was looking good. Jack was off to an amazing start, and Nico was just coming into the fold, coming off of a broken leg. And then obviously they get the COVID breakout. They were out for about 13 days, and then I just think that the schedule is catching up to these Devils, and they're the youngest team in the NHL. They're playing either back-to-back or every other day for the rest of the season. I don't care if this is the Bruins. That is a very, very tall task for any team in any sport. They don't have much practice time. You need breaks, and they're going to be going full throttle until the end of the season in early May. And really, if you're a Devil fan, and even if you're a Ranger fan, not a lot of playoff aspirations this year, but you just want to see these young guys progress. Going back to the Rangers, you're starting to see Lafreniere really come into his own. He had an absolute laser against the Devils on Thursday night. I was out of the building by then, thankfully, but he had 2 points on Thursday, and he's up to at least 8 or 9 points on the year after only having 1 point through the first 10 or 15 games. So you just hope that...
That's exactly it. You just want to see progress from both these teams. That's really what you want to see. And, hopefully the Rangers can do enough progress to squeak into the playoffs, but it doesn't look likely.
Yeah, just some progress, that's all.
So that's pretty much that for NHL. They know they're getting a deal with ESPN, you were saying, and NBCSN, I do not think it will be carrying hockey anymore after the season. I think everything is going to switch to
NBCSN,
ESPN.
I think they're just completely disbanding it at the end of the year because NBC's doing that weird stuff where they're transferring over to Peacock, their streaming service. So
okay.
The NHL games that they will have, I believe they're going to air on USA. But at least half of the nationally televised games for the NHL, they're going to be back on ESPN, oddly enough.
Gotcha. So no more bum, bum,
I know,
bum, 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 bum,
I know,
bum.
but they're going to bring...
That's done.
Yeah, but they're going to bring back the old ESPN tune was very good, and I have it in my head, but I just don't remember off the top of my head. But they're going to bring that back. Yeah,
that's all right. We haven't heard it.
That'll do it for the NHL. But we got a lot of baseball here, Lou. We're about 3 weeks from opening day.
Yes, we do.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we're less than a month away from the Yanks home opener, and obviously the crushing news here of the day is Zach Britton will not be on the roster come opening day. He's got bone chips in his elbow. He needs surgery to replace them. And it's going to be a multiple-month injury here. I think you're going to be lucky to get Britton back by June. Not great news for the Yankees. Really, really not. But as a fallback, you can kind of say, okay, we signed Justin Wilson, so that's a plus. He can. Not saying he's going to take the setup man role. I think that setup man role is going to go to Chad Greene most likely. But he is a guy, a lefty in that bullpen that can come in and in the 7th inning now, maybe in Chad Greene's role. But, the Yankees have that next man up mentality, and that's what they need to have in the bullpen right now. But they're going to have a starter that's not going to be a starting pitcher, whether that person is it looks like Kluber's healthy. He's going to be in number 2, so you're going to go Kluber. You're going to have, after Cole, you're going to have Kluber. You're going to have Montgomery. You're going to have Tyone. And then you have Herman to choose from, Garcia to choose from. Probably going to be Garcia. But then you have Herman, Loizica. I know Clark Schmidt has had elbow issues too, so he's out. But those two guys between Herman and Loizica, they're going to need to be big in the bullpen with Britton down. They could get some serious innings, whether they could do 2, 6th and 7th inning might be theirs if a starter is struggling. But they can have some big moments in the bullpen here, just as big as if they needed to start games. But I'm looking at those two and Justin Wilson to kind of ease into and pick up Zach Britton, the loss of Zach Britton.
Lou. I mean, I think you make a lot of good points. Britton missing out on really the first 2 full months, maybe even 3 full months of the season is going to hurt this bullpen, and there's absolutely no doubt about that. But the first person I thought of, man, was Chad Greene. I mean, I'm such a believer in Chad Greene. He brings his A game almost every outing. He's a force to be reckoned with, and I think this is really going to be his time to shine. He's a very, very reliable arm in that pen for Aaron Boone and the Yanks, and he's going to have to come up clutch here. It looks like he's going to be the setup man, and really the 7th inning guy is going to be probably Darren O'Day in my mind, Lou. So.
I know, but you know what? Have you even seen him pitch this spring?
I haven't seen any of Darren O'Day.
I haven't seen any of Darren O'Day either. But yeah, Chad Greene actually is someone that drives me crazy, to be totally honest. Yeah, Chad Greene's someone that drives me crazy. There are times where I love him, and then there are times where I'm like, you got to stop throwing your fastball over the middle of the plate. These are professional hitters. They're going to hit it.
He loves throwing that fastball and just hoping it goes right by him. He doesn't have a lot of breaking stuff, off-speed stuff, but he's been so good for the Yanks for a while now. I believe it was 2 years ago he had an off year, but I remember last year he was great. 2017 he was awesome when they went to the ALCS, and 2018 he was great too. So, I mean, this is going to be his time to really solidify himself as one of these ultimate arms in this Yankee bullpen. And the Yankees have a great bullpen to begin with. But like you said, I mean, the Cessas of the world, these are going to be the guys that are going to really have to, and Loizaga especially, they're going to have to pick up some slack here, at least until Britton comes back.
Yep, and oddly enough, you know who's a free agent right now?
Oh my
Shane
God.
Greene is still a free agent. Guy that started his career with the Yankees, went to the Tigers, had success there, and did okay on the Braves last year. So I would not mind maybe get him to sign a minor league deal. That would be a steal. I mean, who we get to sign a minor league deal? I thought you're just like laughing.
Yeah.
Justin Wilson signed a minor league deal. So, I mean, if we can get Shane Greene to do the same, I mean, I don't see why you would try to, why you wouldn't do that, especially with, Britton down
exactly
for the first couple months of the year. So that's a name to definitely.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be looking for another arm here, whether it's via free agency or a little trade with a little player to be named later type of thing. I think they're going to be trying to do something here.
Could be. Other signings around the league, you got Jackie Bradley Jr. headed to the Brewers and Jake Odorizzi to the Astros. And one of the Astros pitchers, I believe, could be facing Tommy John surgery. So they went out and got Jake Odorizzi. I don't know how good the Astros are going to be this year. Odorizzi definitely going to help their rotation. That wasn't great by any of the stretch of the means to begin with. We'll see how Verlander is coming off his injury. You have Urquidy, obviously adding Odorizzi to that 3 spot probably. Forrest Whitley, that's who the young man is that might be out for some time. He was a I think their number 1 prospect in the Astros organization, top 5 in baseball. He looks like he might be out, but the Astros definitely will have some holes. You see it in center field. They don't have Springer anymore. They did bring back Brantley. But we'll see how well the Astros do. And there are going to be some fans in here, and hopefully the fans didn't forget what they did last season with, obviously, they're not being fans for the MLB season, and they let them have it. So I'm not too high on the Astros this year, but Odorizzi is definitely pitching.
And don't forget these Astros. I mean, George Springer, he's not an Astro. I mean, it's going to be a big bat out of that lineup. Mm-hmm. Oh, I would love nothing more than to just see them absolutely shit the bed. And I can't wait. Lou, we gotta go. Hopefully the Billies will be open, but you and me, we're going to the first game at the stadium when the Stros come. I think it's in mid-May, if I remember correctly. Okay.
May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, I believe, are the days. Well, but yes,
bring the Boo Birds with you.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. So, lastly here for the MLB, Aaron Boone obviously needs to have emergency pacemaker surgery, which was definitely a little nerve-wracking. But he is okay. He's already back with the team. Hopefully he can stay healthy this season. Such a crucial part to obviously the Yankees' success. Sometimes we can all have our beef with him at times, but he does do a good job. Obviously, 100 wins in his first 2 seasons. So it's good. It's good that he's back, and everything's all right with Booney. And the lastly is, what is Gary Sanchez going to do this year, Dev? I mean, he's got 4 hits, 3 homers, hitting over 330 in spring so far. He's thrown out a runner behind the plate. I mean, you can't be excited about this guy right now. You have to be a little encouraged, like, okay, he's not striking out a million times, but at the same time, it's like, I've been down this road before. I'm not getting excited, but, is Aaron Judge wrong when he says Gary Sanchez is a guy that can go out there and win AL MVP? When you think about it, when he came up in August, if he kept that pace up or even decreased like 25% of what he was doing when he first came up for the first 2 months of the year,
right,
that's definitely AL MVP numbers. So it's definitely a stretch, but I wouldn't call it impossible.
It's not, Lou. It's really not impossible because that's what makes the whole Gary Sanchez dilemma such a, I don't know the word, but it's a love-hate relationship for Yankee fans because all Yankee fans know, the organization knows what kind of catcher Gary Sanchez is. He's got an absolute rocket behind the plate. We all know that. What he does when he's at his best in the batter's box, I mean, he might be a better offensive force than Jorge was. And I don't think a lot of Yankee fans can argue me on that. You know, he's still so young. He's only 26. You know, and he has the second highest slugging percentage in the history of Major League Baseball when it comes to catchers. You can't ignore these things. Granted, the guy batted below, what was it? I think he batted below 170, right? Definitely below 180 last year. He has to fix a lot of things, but the talent is right there. I mean, is it a stretch to win AL MVP? It might be, but it's not too far-fetched either. I mean, this guy has a few 25 home run seasons under his belt. The guy can absolutely crush the ball. I mean, did you see that home run he had in Lakeland yesterday against Detroit?
Oh, I mean, I think it was. I was not talking about that one. I'm talking about his first one of the year. Yeah. That looked like it went 500 feet.
Yeah, that was insane. Like and Kay, granted, he's not even down in Tampa. He's doing it remotely from Westchester. But he said that was the longest home run I have ever seen at George Steinbrenner Field, and he's been doing games down there for the Yankees since over 25 years. And I mean that's amazing, absolutely amazing. The talent is there for Gary Sanchez. It's so frustrating. I mean, this is going to be the year. If he doesn't have a good year this year, obviously he's gone. He can solidify himself to be the future of this franchise behind the plate for the Yankees if he has a great year this year, and I think he will. He's having a great spring, but we've also seen this, like you said, Lou, we've seen this time and time again from Gary Sanchez in the spring.
Yep. So obviously we're not going to try to get our hopes up here, but it is an encouraging sight. He's 4 for 11, 3 homers, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 1.643 OPS. His defense has been 24 innings caught, 0 errors, 2 caught stealings. So allowing just one stolen base. But it's encouraging, but like I said, it's going to be hard to get our hopes up with this guy because when he hits a bad stretch, boy, is it bad. But you know what? And hitting low in the lineup, I think, is only going to help him. He doesn't have to be a 3-4 hitter where he needs to hit 250 and, drive the ball out of the ballpark once a week.
Absolutely. But, Lou,
yep.
What the Yankees are so blessed because 1 through 9, every guy can hit, regardless of who Boone is throwing out there. Even Gardy, he's gonna get you on base. He's gonna get a runner on base. Clint, whenever he's in, he can hit for average. Giancarlo, we've seen him hit for average. When Judge is healthy, seen him hit for average. In what lineup are you going to have a 3-4-5 be some combination of Judge, Voit, and Stanton? That's unbelievable. There's no need for Gary to be hitting that high in the lineup. You can hit him in the 8 or 9 hole, and that like you said, though, I think you put it perfectly. It's perfect for him.
Yeah. To me, Gary's a 7-8 hitter in this lineup. He's not a 9 hitter. I want my 9 hitter. I want my 9 hitter to get on base. I want my 9 hitter to be able to have an on base percentage be around 350. I want my 9 hitter to get on base. I think Aaron Hicks is the perfect 9 hitter because he walks a ton and can just get on for DJ LeMahieu. But they would like to hit him third for some reason. But if I had to build my lineup, Aaron Hicks would be hitting 9th to flip that lineup gorgeously. Yeah, so that'll wrap up our spring training talk here. And before we go, the last bit of news that we didn't get to because we've been off the air for almost 2 weeks here was we are not going to get into this too much, but we're just happy that Tiger Woods is alert and conscious after his horrific crash there where his legs were absolutely crushed, it seems like. His car was completely totaled. Yep. I thought it was worse than it was at first because of the expression jaws of life. I guess that only means when they have to literally pry you out of your car. But obviously they had to, take the car apart in order to get him out. But we are glad he's okay. He said he had no memory of the crash even happening. But there was no drugs or alcohol or anything like that involved with the crash, just an accident. And takeaway from this is Tiger Woods needs to only drive on the golf course. Anytime he needs a driver, he needs to get something else. He's only allowed to drive on the golf course. He should not be driving anywhere else. I mean, this man in cars is like gasoline and fire. It's just not a good combination. But we're glad he's okay, and we saw them honor him on the tour with red shirts at, I think it was called Blue Hill Tournament that DeChambeau won, by the way, with that monster 397-yard drive, something crazy like that. But, yes, we are glad that
definitely,
Tiger is okay.
Dude, that car was absolutely destroyed. And really the first thing I thought of, I think it's a Hyundai. But, I mean, that Hyundai saved Tiger Woods' life. How about that safety record? They can go about and market themselves as the people who saved Tiger Woods' life. So, I mean, just looking at that picture, I'm very interested to just hear what happened, whether he was speeding, just wasn't paying attention. I mean, it could be anything. In these cars nowadays, there's so many distractions with the screen and fixing the radio. Yeah,
fixing the radio. Sometimes in cars they get back to the radio.
It's impossible. Exactly. You're absolutely right. And my dad brought up a good point too. He said, he had no idea what he doesn't own this car. It's a brand new car to him. So if he was trying to get to the radio or trying to put in navigation because he was late for a shoot with Drew Brees and I think it was in Justin Herbert. So maybe that's where he was on the way to.
Is that where he was on the way
some sort of shoot with them. But nonetheless, I'm glad he's not paralyzed or anything. Worst case scenario, he broke his legs.
Right.
He'll be fine. Now it's just a matter of his golf career, and I hope that this isn't the end of it. But if and when he comes back, man. You remember how pumped everyone was when he came back from his ACLs? Yeah. Can you imagine this?
Oh yeah, I mean he's going to make a comeback. I don't think he can win anything, but I think he might play maybe Tiger's final round. He might play just one more round and just get back out there one last time. I really don't think he has anything left to prove. I think the man should just enjoy retirement. He's got nothing left to prove. He's proved a lot over the course of his career. And just getting out there, playing 18 holes one more time, maybe at next year's Masters, I think that's enough. I do. I'm not saying that, he needs to get out of the game, but I think he doesn't have to prove anything.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, maybe next year's Masters is a little bit too premature. So that's 13 months from now, just judging on how the severity of the injury, but who knows? But all the best to Tiger. I'm glad he survived first and foremost, of course.
Yes. So I think that'll pretty much do it for us this week. One thing I might have missed here quickly was Ben Roethlisberger will be back with the Steelers next year on a restructured contract because he was facing a $41.25 million cap hit. So he restructured his contract to come back next season for the Steelers. So there was that. And that'll pretty much do it. I got nothing else, but we will talk to you next week. If there's enough news, maybe a week after that once free agency gets going. But thanks for listening to this episode of Keep It on the DL, and we will talk to you next time.